The new film by Yorgos Lanthimos, Kinds of Kindness, has just been released in theatres, and it's quite the insane experience from start to finish. It's a triptych fable with its stories featuring connecting themes and building on the recurring character of RMF. You may struggle to understand how they connect or what the true purpose of RMF actually is, but once you look at it thematically, a greater picture can be found. So in this explained analysis, I'm going to be giving you my breakdown of Kinds of Kindness, discussing full plot details, the ending, the meaning and connection of each story, and what the purpose of the RMF character actually is. There will be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't watched the film yet, then I would recommend checking it out before watching my analysis. Before I get into it though, if you want to see more on upcoming releases like Kinds of Kindness, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like, rating, and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into my explained video for Kinds of Kindness. So Yorgos Lanthimos is renowned for his surrealist films packed with enigmatic metaphors. I was a fan of his previous film Poor Things, but I think I, and many who see Kinds of Kindness, may find it very perplexing. It features top-notch actors like Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, and Willem Dafoe, and presents us three seemingly unconnected tales. In this anthology, Lanthimos challenges his actors to embody different characters through unique performances, and the complexity of the narratives may leave you questioning the true meaning behind it all. The director's absurdist approach prioritizes themes and delving into the human mind over traditional storytelling, and as the film progresses, you'll find that each of these stories do connect thematically, and it's here that the true meaning of Kinds of Kindness lies. I will be getting into that more at the end, along with the meaning of RMF, but first, let's get into each of the three stories and break down what happened. Starting with the death of RMF, the first story of Kinds of Kindness delves into the toxic dynamic between a man and his superior. The narrative revolves around Jesse Plemons Robert, a corporate employee who is continuously controlled and ordered by a demanding businessman in Willem Dafoe's Raymond. Despite Raymond's seemingly kind demeanour and posh gifts, he is actually a manipulative individual whose every order is carried out by Robert. Lanthimos uses the concept of workplace harassment to showcase how Raymond exerts control over every aspect of Robert's life. From dictating his diet and sleep routine to regulating intimate contact, Raymond oversees Robert's entire existence. For a decade, Raymond has orchestrated every detail of his life, from his home and career to his very marriage. And while Robert caters to Raymond's every whim, it gets to the point where he loses his own sense of self. Despite his unwavering loyalty, Robert drew the line at causing a fatal traffic accident at Raymond's behest, which involved killing the subtitle character of all three stories, RMF. This decision led to his dismissal and the loss of everything he gained from Raymond, and soon after, he tries to regain Raymond's approval. In the twist of events, Robert discovers that Emma Stone's character, the woman he had been pursuing, was also under Raymond's control and had caused a horrific car crash. So feeling helpless, Robert resorts to kidnapping the survivor of the crash and ultimately takes that person's life in an attempt to make amends with Raymond. This act of desperation was accepted by Raymond, who welcomed Robert back into his life. So the opening chapter of Kinds of Kindness delves into the distortion of kindness as a tool for control by those in power. The story delves into the concept of abusive relationships, providing a sense of solace for the abused who sacrifice their independence in exchange for someone else. Raymond and Robert's relationship is cruel, but Robert has been subjected to abuse for so long that he struggles to adapt to newfound freedom. So it ultimately poses that kindness has the potential to entangle individuals in toxic relationships, and those individuals struggle to break free. And this is a concept that resurfaces in the following two stories in the film. Coming to the second story in Kinds of Kindness, RMF is Flying, Plemons now takes on the role of Daniel, a police officer grappling with the disappearance of his wife Liz, played by Emma Stone. Liz, a marine biologist, goes missing after her boat gets caught in a storm, and the entire crew is washed onto a desert island. Just when all hope seems lost, she is rescued and is flown to safety in a helicopter by RMF. Liz is one of only 2 survivors of the accident, and her return home should be a cause for celebration for Daniel. However, as time goes by, Daniel starts to suspect that the woman who has returned home is not Liz, but an imposter. Before the accident, Liz didn't like chocolate, but now she loves it. She also appears to have forgotten Daniel's favourite song, which his friends know of, and we find out that her feet are too big for her shoes. Daniel had suffered while Liz was gone, but when she returns, he has true resentment towards the woman who replaced her. And with it constantly playing on his mind, he demands extreme displays of affection from the new Liz, including cutting off her own finger for Daniel's own satisfaction. Eventually, a finger becomes a liver, and in proceeding with this, the new Liz eventually dies. Soon after this happens though, there's a knock at the door and the original Liz returns home. So while it appears that Daniel's suspicions were true, like in the first story, there are deeper themes at play. While the opening story went into the surreal realm of toxic work relationships, RMF is Flying explores the unsettling dynamics of romantic relationships. Daniel, a manipulative partner, values an idealized image of Liz. And because he's unable to accept the changes in Liz after a traumatic event, he seeks to destroy her true self to preserve his fantasy. This theme of cannibalism adds a chilling layer to the story, suggesting that survival instincts can override kindness in desperate situations. And just as Liz resorted to consuming her dead colleagues to survive, Daniel turns to consuming human flesh to protect his distorted perception of his wife. This brings us to the final story of Kinds of Kindness, titled RMF Eats a Sandwich, which features Emma Stone portraying Emily and Plemons taking on the supporting role of Andrews, known as two members of a cult on a mission to locate their messiah. It delves into the peculiar beliefs of the cult overseen by Willem Dafoe's Omi and Hong Chau's Aka. Omi and Aka preach to their followers that all liquids and fluids in the world are tainted, hence why cult members are restricted to consuming water purified by the tears of their leaders. On top of this, the cultists are only permitted to engage in sex with Omi or Aka, as their bodily fluids are deemed pure unlike those of others. Rather than focusing on work or romantic connections, the third story sheds light on the atrocities carried out in the name of faith and community. Omi and Aka show their followers kindness, offering them a chance to gain greater truth. However, this connection comes at a cost, as cult members are required to cut ties with their loved ones and swear allegiance solely to them. In particular, Emily grapples with being away from her young daughter, and while out with Andrews searching for their messiah, she frequently sneaks back to her former residence to leave gifts for her daughter. Eventually, Emily reluctantly agrees to meet her ex-husband Joseph and her daughter, but once she gets in the house, her daughter has already gone to bed. Instead, her ex-husband ends up drugging and abusing her. Upon returning to the cult, Emily is blamed for the traumatic incident and banished by Omi and Aka's community, as the cult shifts the blame onto the victim. Emily devoted herself to a community that rejected her for the way she was assaulted. But despite her heartbreak, she continues to search for the messiah. Eventually, she encounters Ruth, a woman with the power to bring back people from the dead. Emily drugs her and forces her to use her powers to bring back none other than RMF from the dead. When she does so, Emily celebrates outside the morgue, doing that iconic dance from the trailer, and aims to drive Ruth to the estate of the cult in order to get back on terms with them. However, at the end, Emily's reckless driving, which is on display throughout the final story, leads to an accident that takes Ruth's life, eliminating her only chance of redemption within the cult. So this conclusion is in a way refusing to give the cult a happy ending. They have shown their true nature following Emily's assault, and they don't deserve a positive outcome when it comes to finding their messiah. So now that I've talked about each of the stories featured in Kinds of Kindness, what is the overall meaning of them and that featured ending? Well, as a whole, the film delved into the concepts of power dynamics, twisted affection, and the risks associated with unhealthy connections, offering quite a bleak outlook on human behaviour. All three stories in the film showcase a similar theme beyond just the presence of RMF. In all three, the characters are on a relentless pursuit of happiness in very challenging circumstances. Each character goes to great lengths to seek validation and belonging, whether it's Robert killing someone for Raymond, Liz struggling to love her toxic partner, and Emily drugging and finding a messiah for Omi. Despite having kindness in the title, the characters are not kind to themselves nor others, resorting to despicable actions instead. And it delves deep into their struggles, illustrating how they are pushed to their limits. So ultimately, none of them achieve their goals, and at the very end, Emily fails to regain her place in the cult after Ruth's death. The film serves as a stark reminder of the unpredictability of life and the limited control we have over our own future. The stories essentially complement each other thematically. We learn of the twisted dynamics of control and distorted love, seeing the lengths that individuals will go to in order to hold on to a toxic relationship, no matter how damaging it may be. Kinds of Kindness sheds light on the harmful effects of such relationships and the risks of remaining trapped in a destructive cycle. So with the film now analysed, the last thing to discuss is the enigmatic nature of RMF, a character that makes an appearance in every segment of the film, maintaining his consistent role unlike the rest of the cast. In the death of RMF, he agrees to be killed by Robert, despite Raymond's initial refusal. In RMF is Flying, he briefly appears flying a helicopter. And finally, in RMF Eats a Sandwich, Ruth brings him back to life and he enjoys a sandwich in a post-credit scene. RMF serves as the link between all three parts, although the meaning behind his initials remains a mystery. I did find a potential meaning for his initials on Reddit, and this is probably the closest I've seen anyone get to what they could actually stand for. Imaginary Bench posted that after some discovery, he thinks that RMF stands for redemption, manipulation, and faith, corresponding to each of the three stories in the film. And to be honest, if you think about each story that's told, that does reflect them quite well. Still, it's anyone's guess, and I'm interested to hear what you think it could mean down below. Moving on, director Yorgos Lanthimos did comment on RMF himself, but remained cryptic on the bigger details about him. He said, "It felt like a subtle way to connect the three stories other than the fact that the same actors play a different character in each story. We didn't want to have a main character reappearing, but a character that had a short time in the film. But at the same time, his presence was pivotal. You can apply any kind of explanation that you want or your own thoughts." So RMF's mysterious presence in the film adds a touch of reality to the otherwise absurd narrative. Despite not having his significance explained, he seems to be a figure that can't be killed, witnessing the bizarre events unfold around him. It's as if he's a godlike figure, calmly accepting the cycle of life without resistance towards it. While the other characters are controlled, RMF remains apart, almost as if he's in control over his own fate. But that was my breakdown and analysis for Kinds of Kindness. Like Lanthimos' other work, I thought the film was yet again another crazy ride, one that has thematic importance, but one that also has outstanding production work too. While I didn't enjoy it as much as say Poor Things, I did appreciate its unique approach to storytelling and the filmmaking on display to support it. The performances were also a big highlight, and they successfully captured both the absurdity and thematical importance of the characters within each of the three stories. I think a lot of viewers are going to have very different reactions coming out of the theatre, and to be honest, I think that's quite a cool thing that the film has going for it. But I do hope this breakdown did help some of you guys understand the film and the main details a bit better, and overall, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts towards it, so don't forget to let me know down below in the comments section. For more videos on upcoming film releases like Kinds of Kindness, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.